What if the person you've been searching for has been standing right beside you all along? Stay with me until the end of this story, because what Maya discovered will change everything you thought you knew about love and friendship. And if stories like this touch your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us what truly matters in life. Maya sat in the corner booth of their usual coffee shop, watching raindrops race down the window, each one blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and white. She had been crying for 3 hours straight, and her best friend Daniel had been sitting across from her for every single minute of it, saying nothing, just being there. Her phone lay face down on the table, silenced after the 20th call from her now ex-boyfriend Marcus. The breakup had been brutal, public, and utterly humiliating. Marcus had ended their 2-year relationship via text message while she was at her sister's wedding, then posted about his new relationship on social media before Maya had even processed what happened. Daniel reached across the table and pushed a fresh cup of hot chocolate toward her, the third one that evening. He knew she didn't actually like coffee, despite spending countless hours in coffee shops. He knew she needed something sweet when she was sad. He knew everything, really, after 12 years of friendship that had started in middle school, when he had defended her from a group of bullies who mocked her accent. She had just moved from India, struggling with English, feeling invisible and alone. Daniel had stepped in without hesitation, and from that day forward they had been inseparable. She looked up at him through swollen eyes, and for the first time that night, really saw him. His brown hair was messy from running his hands through it, a habit he had when he was worried. His green eyes held such genuine concern that it made her chest ache. His jacket was soaked, because he had given her his umbrella when he picked her up, not caring that he would get drenched. He had canceled his own plans, a date actually, when she called him sobbing. He always canceled everything for her, and she had always taken it for granted. "You're too good for him, Maya. You always were," Daniel said quietly, his voice rough with an emotion she couldn't quite place. It wasn't the first time he had said those words. He had said them when Marcus forgot her birthday, when Marcus criticized her career choice of becoming a teacher instead of something more lucrative, when Marcus made her feel small for caring too much about things that mattered to her. Daniel had been the voice of reason she consistently ignored, blinded by what she thought was love. Maya wrapped her hands around the warm cup, drawing comfort from its heat. "Why do I keep choosing the wrong people, Dan? What's wrong with me?" Her voice cracked, and fresh tears threatened to spill. She felt fundamentally broken, like there was something defective in her ability to be loved properly. "Nothing is wrong with you," Daniel said firmly, leaning forward. The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. "You have the biggest heart of anyone I know. You love with everything you have. That's not a flaw, Maya. That's your superpower. The problem is, you've been giving it to people who don't know what to do with something so precious." He paused, his jaw tightening. "You deserve someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves every single thing they find." Something in the way he said it made Maya's heart skip. She studied his face, this face she knew as well as her own, and suddenly felt like she was seeing it for the first time. When had the boyish softness been replaced by these strong features? When had his presence become the thing that made her feel safe in a chaotic world? She shook her head slightly, dismissing the strange flutter in her stomach as residual emotion from the breakup. The week that followed were a blur of healing and self-discovery. Daniel was there for all of it, as he always was. He showed up at her apartment with her favorite Indian food when she didn't have the energy to cook. He sat with her through terrible rom-coms that made her cry harder. He helped her rearrange her furniture, saying she needed a fresh start in her space. He listened to her process her feelings without judgment, without trying to fix everything, just holding space for her pain. But something was shifting inside Maya, something subtle and profound. She started noticing things she had overlooked for years. The way Daniel remembered every small detail she mentioned in passing. How he had learned to cook samosas from her mother, because he knew they were her comfort food. The way his entire face lit up when she walked into a room. How he always positioned himself between her and any potential danger when they walked at night. The dozens of small, quiet ways he showed up for her every single day without expecting anything in return. One evening, about a month after the breakup, Maya was at Daniel's apartment helping him prepare for a job interview. He was going for a promotion at the architectural firm where he worked, and she was quizzing him on potential questions. She watched him pace his living room, gesturing excitedly as he talked about his designs, his passion evident in every word. He was brilliant at what he did, creating spaces that made people feel at home, that told stories through structure and light. "You're going to be amazing," Maya said, smiling at his nervous energy. "They'd be crazy not to promote you." She meant it completely. Daniel was exceptional at everything he did, meticulous and creative in equal measure. He stopped pacing and looked at her, something vulnerable crossing his features. You really think so? There was an uncertainty in his voice that surprised her. Daniel, who was always so confident in supporting others, seemed genuinely doubtful about his own worth. I know so, she said firmly. Dan, you're the most talented person I know. You're brilliant and dedicated, and you care about making things beautiful and meaningful. Any company would be lucky to have you. She stood up and walked over to him, reaching up to straighten his collar in a gesture that felt suddenly intimate. Her hands lingered perhaps a moment too long, and she felt him tense under her touch. He caught her hands gently, holding them against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, rapid and strong under her palms. Maya, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. The way he said her name made her knees weak, like it was a prayer and a question all at once. She looked up into his eyes and saw everything she had been too blind to see before. The love that wasn't new. It wasn't sudden. It had been there all along, constant and unwavering, woven into every moment of their 12-year friendship. It was in every canceled plan, every late-night conversation, every time he had chosen her without her even having to ask. It was in the way he looked at her like she was the most important person in his world, because to him, she was. The realization hit her like a wave, stealing her breath. Oh my God, she whispered, her eyes widening. How did I not see it? All those years, all those wrong relationships, and the person who loved her most completely had been standing right beside her the entire time. She had been so busy looking for love in all the wrong places that she had missed it in the one place it had always existed. Daniel's expression shifted to something guarded, defensive. He dropped her hands and stepped back, running his hand through his hair in that familiar, worried gesture. See what? He asked, but his voice was careful, like he was bracing for impact. Maya's mind was racing, memories flooding back with new context. The girl in college he had dated briefly who looked eerily similar to her. How he always seemed slightly off whenever she introduced him to a new boyfriend. The way he had disappeared for a few weeks after she got engaged to her ex-fiancé 3 years ago, needing space before he could face being around her. All the times her mother had asked when she and Daniel would stop pretending and admit what everyone else could see. The pieces clicked into place with devastating clarity. You love me, she said. Not as a question, but as a statement of fact. Her heart was pounding so hard, she thought it might break through her ribs. Not just as a friend, you're in love with me. You have been for a long time. Daniel closed his eyes, his jaw clenching. When he opened them again, they were filled with a pain so raw it made her chest ache. Don't, he said quietly. Please don't do this. Not now. Not when you're vulnerable and hurt and looking for something familiar to hold on to. I won't be your rebound, Maya. I can't be. That's not what this is, she said urgently, stepping toward him. Everything felt crystal clear suddenly, like emerging from fog into sunlight. Dan, I'm not confused. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing things clearly. Tears were streaming down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of recognition, of coming home. He shook his head, backing away further. You don't know what you're saying. You're emotional, you're hurt, and I'm here, being what I always am, convenient. Safe, but I've watched you fall in love with other people over and over again, Maya. I've held you while you cried over men who didn't deserve you. I've listened to you talk about feeling butterflies and electricity and all the things you never felt with me because you've never seen me that way. Because I was an idiot, Maya said, her voice rising with frustration at herself. Because I thought love was supposed to be dramatic and complicated and painful. I thought the butterflies and the passion and the intensity meant something, but all it meant was instability. I was so busy chasing the feeling of falling that I never appreciated the beauty of someone who was already there to catch me. She moved closer, not letting him retreat anymore. You want to know what I feel with you? I feel peace. I feel seen. I feel like I can breathe. When I'm with you, I'm the best version of myself because you make me feel like that version is enough, exactly as she is. You make me laugh harder than anyone else. You challenge me to be braver. You believe in me even when I don't believe in myself. Her voice softened. And yes, Dan, you give me butterflies. You always have. I just called them something else. I called them friendship or comfort or gratitude because I didn't understand that real love isn't supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel like coming home. Daniel stood frozen, his eyes searching her face desperately, looking for any sign of doubt or confusion. Maya, I've loved you since we were 15 years old, he said, his voice breaking. I've been in love with you through every boyfriend, every heartbreak, every moment. I've watched you love other people and wished it was me. I've built my whole life around being close to you in whatever way you'd let me. If I let myself hope now, and you realize this is just gratitude or loneliness or confusion, it will destroy me. It will destroy us. I can't lose you. She reached up and cupped his face in her hands, making him look at her. "You're not going to lose me. You never could. Don't you see? You've had me all along, Dan. My heart has been yours for years. I just didn't have the wisdom to recognize it." She smiled through her tears. "I don't want to be just your friend anymore. I want to be the person you come home to. I want to make you laugh the way you make me laugh. I want to support your dreams the way you've always supported mine. I want to choose you every single day the way you've been choosing me." For a long moment, he just stared at her, and she could see him, warring with himself, fear battling hope. Then, slowly, carefully, as if she might disappear, he brought his hands up to cover hers. "Are you sure?" he whispered. "Are you absolutely sure? Because I've waited 12 years for this moment, and if it's real, it's everything. But if you have even the smallest doubt, tell me now." Maya had never been more sure of anything in her life. "I'm sure," she said. "I'm sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me. I'm sorry you had to wait. But I'm here now, and I see you, Dan. I finally see you. And I'm choosing you." He pulled her into his arms then, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world, and maybe to him she was. She wrapped her arms around him, feeling the rightness of it settle into her bones. This was where she belonged. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Not a storm, but a shelter. Not chaos, but peace. Not someone who made her question her worth, but someone who saw her value even when she couldn't. They stood like that for a long time, neither wanting to let go, both aware that they were crossing a threshold they could never uncross. Finally, Daniel pulled back just enough to look at her, his eyes still searching, still careful. "We should take this slow," he said, ever the responsible one. "We should make sure this is real, that you're not just confused by everything that happened with Marcus." Maya laughed softly. "Dan, we've known each other for 12 years. We've already done slow. We know everything about each other. We've already built the foundation. This isn't starting over. This is finally acknowledging what's been true all along." He smiled then, really smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "When did you get so wise?" he asked, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "About 5 minutes ago," she admitted. "Before that, I was apparently completely clueless." She sobered slightly. "I've wasted so much time, Dan. I've put you through so much." "You haven't wasted anything," he said firmly. "Every experience you had, even the painful ones, they made you who you are. And who you are is extraordinary. We're here now. That's what matters." She stood on her tiptoes, her heart pounding, suddenly nervous in a way she had never been with him before. "Can I kiss you?" she asked softly. They were crossing from one territory into another, and she wanted him to have a choice, to have control. After all the years, he had simply accommodated her needs. His eyes darkened with an emotion that made her breath catch. "I've been waiting 12 years for you to ask me that," he whispered, and then he leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't explosive or overwhelming. It was soft and sweet and felt like every good thing Maya had ever believed in. It felt like safety and passion combined, like friendship and romance weren't opposites, but ingredients in something bigger and more beautiful than she had imagined. It felt like finding something she didn't even know she was looking for, like solving a puzzle where the final piece had been in her hand all along. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said simply. "I've loved you forever, and I'll love you for whatever forever we get." "I love you too," Maya whispered back. "Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being the kind of person worth finding my way home to." The months that followed weren't perfect, because real life never is, but they were real and honest and beautiful. They navigated the transition from friends to partners with the same care and communication they had brought to their friendship. There were moments of adjustment, times when old habits clashed with new dynamics, but they worked through them together. Maya's family, unsurprisingly, was thrilled, with her mother claiming she had known all along. Daniel's parents, who had always adored Maya, welcomed her officially with open arms. Their friends, most of whom had been shipping them for years, celebrated with a collective sense of finally. Maya learned what it meant to be in a relationship with someone who truly saw her, who celebrated her successes without jealousy, who supported her ambitions without trying to redirect them. Daniel learned what it felt like to be chosen deliberately, to have his love returned with equal intensity and commitment. Together, they learned that the best kind of love isn't the kind that completes you, because you were never incomplete, but the kind that complements you, that makes you braver and kinder and more yourself. 1 year later, on the anniversary of that rainy night in the coffee shop, Daniel took Maya back to their usual booth. He had arranged with the owner to close the shop early, and the space was lit with candles, their table set with her favorite foods. She laughed, tears already forming, because of course he had planned something meaningful and personal and perfect. "A year ago, you were sitting here heartbroken," Daniel said, taking her hands across the table. "I sat here watching you hurt, and wishing I could take your pain away. I never imagined that a few weeks later, everything would change. Best worst day of my life, Maya said, squeezing his hands. Getting my heart broken led me to finding it in the right place. Daniel smiled and took a deep breath. I've spent 12 years being your best friend. I've spent the last year being your partner. I'd like to spend the rest of my life being your husband, if you'll have me. He pulled out a small velvet box, opening it to reveal a ring that was simple and elegant and completely her. Maya's breath caught, tears streaming freely now. Yes, she said without hesitation. Yes, 1,000 times yes. You've been it for me all along, Dan. I just needed time to catch up to what my heart already knew. As he slid the ring onto her finger and pulled her in for a kiss, Maya thought about all the wrong turns she had taken, all the time she had wasted looking for love in people who couldn't give it the way she needed. She thought about her younger self, desperate to feel chosen, not realizing she had been chosen all along by someone extraordinary. She thought about how the best love story she would ever experience hadn't started with a dramatic first sight, but with a quiet, steady presence that never wavered. Sometimes the person you've been waiting for isn't a stranger you've yet to meet. Sometimes they're the friend who has been there all along, waiting patiently for you to realize that the love you were searching for had been holding your hand through every storm. Sometimes coming home isn't about finding a new place. It's about finally recognizing that you were already there. And as Maya looked into Daniel's eyes, seeing her future reflected back in them, she understood the truth that had been waiting for her to discover it. Real love doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It shows up consistently, day after day, in the small moments and quiet gestures. It's patient and kind and steady. It's someone who sees you at your worst and chooses you anyway. It's friendship that grows into something deeper, not because it was lacking before, but because you finally have the wisdom to recognize its worth. That was the day Maya realized he was more than a friend. He was everything. He always had been. She had just needed to open her eyes to see it. And in seeing it, she found not just love, but home. If this story touched your heart, remember that sometimes the love you're looking for is closer than you think. Sometimes we're so busy chasing what we think we want that we miss what we actually need. Take a moment today to appreciate the people who show up for you consistently, who choose you quietly, who love you steadily. They might be the answer you've been searching for all along.